Our first plant of the month for the first of the year is the Goldenball Leadtree. It is a native to mostly eastern Edwards Plateau, as well as the Davis Mountains and Chisos Mountains, and also Arizona. It's normally blooms in the spring, but with rain intermittently throughout the year, actually, it'll bloom. And it has its name from the look of the flower, kind of like a ½ inch to an inch and a half golden ball there. If you guys are also familiar with the Weesach, it looks kind of very familiar to the Weesach bulb there, but this plant doesn't have thorns, and it's, I guess, a small tree or a large shrub. It grows to about 15 feet tall, and it can be a multi-trunked tree, or you can be train it to be a single trunk tree. The thing about this tree is, as the branches get taller, though, they become very thin and fragile. And if we have strong winds, or if it's in a windy place, then typically you're going to end up seeing a lot of breakage. So you can kind of prune it a little bit to protect that a little bit. Many different types of moths and butterflies and bees go crazy over this plant. Full sun, partial shade, tends to grow in rocky locations, it's drought tolerant. Unfortunately, it is not deer resistant, though, and deer love to work on it. You know, whether they're trying to eat the leaves, which are kind of thin, it's not a very thick growing type foliage. It's one of those plants where you can plant other things underneath it. But you do need to protect it from deer, particularly when you're trying to get it established and all. It tends to reseed itself sometimes, or you can grow it from seed or from cuttings. It's actually my wife's favorite plant in our arboretum. She just loves it, and so I always have to protect it very much from the deer. What else about this little guy here? Plant it in a rocky location, full sun, part shade, protected from deer. It's easily started from seed. It's a slow-growing plant, maybe slow to medium, I would say. And how tall? About 15 feet. But it's a very thin foliage and very thin and brittle branches as it gets up there. But anyway, you can see kind of what it looks like. This one is probably about 10 foot tall there. I think this is only about a 4.5 foot wall there. There is another leadball tree. It's called a giant leadball tree, and its habitat is normally south of us in Mexico on the deserts there. But this is the one that is sometimes available in nurseries, particularly those who are moving toward having natives available. But it's not one that you're going to find in the big box stores or the big nurseries. You know, South Texas Growers has it sometimes, and Rainbow Gardens, both of their locations in San Antonio, would have it. Medina Garden Nursery has them, but I haven't seen large ones. They're kind of small saplings that I've seen there. Anyway, it's a really interesting plant, and it provides a different texture in the landscape, you know, from other plants. Any questions about this plant? Yes. In the spring, but also intermittently in the summer as well, particularly after a rain. Okay, to change subject a little bit, this weekend we're having a freeze, and that freeze is going to last every day for 8 days. So I recommend that you think about taking these steps to help your plants survive, because I'm understanding that over the weekend we're also going to get icy rain. And remember what happened back in 2020 and 21 and all. You should try to water your plants Friday or Thursday because plants survive a little better when they have moisture. And if you have an irrigation system, then if possible, you might want to consider draining it. And if you don't do that and you get breakage, maybe a while before you can bring in an irrigation guy, because after this kind of weather, these guys get really busy, for fixing PVC pipe, things like that. Remember that when you cover your plants, it's not so much the cover of the plant or the insulation over the plant that protects the plant. It's the fact that you're creating a little dome over the plant and you're trapping the heat off of the soil. And that's what's keeping your plant warm, not the fact that it's insulation. So just something to consider. Hopefully, our weather, normally we would have a freeze in Canyon Lake anyway. The first frost is November 10th. And the old timers say, don't worry about it. Even if we don't get that freeze for 2 months, you're going to get it in January and February in spades. And it's all going to average out, but it's just going to come all at once. So just something to consider. Any questions?
Yes, I'm wondering, would it help? I have an orange tree
An orange tree?
on my porch.
Okay.
It's not planted. And it's too big to bring in.
Okay.
Would it help if I put a big plastic bag over the
Well,
top?
you shouldn't use plastic on a plant unless it's going to be like into the below 20s. And you never use plastic as the first thing that's touching the leaves, because plastic will eventually burn, if you will, or freeze it. So you use a cloth type. And then if it's going to be below 20, then it's a good idea to put plastic over that cloth. And if you put a shop light underneath it, with an old incandescent bulb, that'll put enough heat to take care of it. But you're very smart about not planting citrus in the ground because it just doesn't survive. You might be lucky for maybe a couple of years, but eventually, what's going to happen is the freeze will get it. And then you'll say, oh no, I'll just chop it. Maybe it'll grow back. And it will grow back. But what will grow back is the root stock that it was planted with, and that'll never produce an edible citrus. It'll produce perhaps a sour citrus. But you're making the right steps by not planting it in the ground and keeping it in a pot. Yeah, the question was what I do in my orange tree that she has in a pot. So I'm sorry. Yeah. You do have what? Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Go ahead, Sam. Yeah.
Do something like blankets. That's what we use.
Yes.
Make sure you handle it with gloves because it'll sap all the moisture from your hands.
And if you put plastic over something, you have to be careful that you don't boil whatever it is from temperature.
Yes.
When it gets into the mid-40s, you got sun on.
Yeah. Another thing too, if we get freezing rain, if it's practical for you and you do have ice on, particularly on your evergreen plants, if you can use, and then as the temperature rises, if you can spray a water hose on it and get rid of that ice, that might also help it survive. And again, you're all master gardeners. I'm talking to the choir here, but don't prune your plants in the winter, because that dead branching actually provides a little bit of insulation. And if you prune it and we get some warm days and it starts budding out again, it's going to really be hit hard. So, brown is the color of winter, so, and of course, our animals, birds and bees and things like that, they kind of use that wooden or that brown foliage, as habitat and protection. Same thing for leaf, leaves on the ground, provide a lot of protection for little small insects and animals and native bees and things like that. If you are okay with the look of it, it's actually providing a benefit to many small insects. Yes, it does. Keeps moisture in the ground as well. Okay. Thank you very much.